Hello, everybody, and welcome to This Week in Gwent, a weekly show which we talk everything Gwent. As always, my name is Pavel Buja. I will be your host, and I'm joined by the one and only Vladimir, aka Gwent's game director. Vlad, how you doing?
Hello, I'm doing fine. You know, it's a good old tradition that we are meeting on Tweak shortly after the expansion release. And this time we have not one, but two expansions released in, last week. So I think it's only appropriate that we're here together.
Exactly. And happy to do this with you. And I'm really happy that you came to me. Like, I want to talk to the community because let's make it a tradition that whenever we release stuff, let's just sit down and talk, and that's the plan. We cannot be doing this live, unfortunately, because as you're watching this, I am probably already in Amsterdam because I'm going to TwitchCon to meet up with all the Gwent community, the casters, the content creators, and just enjoy stuff, do some networking, talk to them, and spread all the Gwent goodness to everybody, which I'm super excited for as we record this. So it's gonna be an awesome weekend, and if you're there, feel free to reach out to me on Discord, Twitter, wherever you are, and yeah, let's meet up, let's talk, let's have some fun. Everybody in Amsterdam, that's gonna be amazing. So yeah,
some good vibes are expected.
Yes, good vibes everywhere. That is my fuel. That is what I live for. So I'm really happy to go there and that this is actually happening. So yeah, we'll stick to the normal Twig format. So first we'll start off with what has been going on. We weren't here last week because there was also a lot of stuff happening in the studio the previous week just after open. So there was just simply not enough time to have a Twig live. So we'll be recapping a little bit also what happened in that week, with the main focus being the expansions that Vlad already mentioned. So starting off, we have Black Sun coming out. So 27 new cards, new scenarios coming into the game, rent-free coming into the game. We had an awesome trailer that I got the privilege of working on with the video team. So kudos to them. Yeah, it's so far been one of the coolest themes that we brought back, because I love the whole story of the Black Sun, Etibald, how Renfrey is connected to that. So that was really, really cool to work on. And I remember me and Vlad were working on the script, and you wanted it, Vlad, to rhyme, and we made it rhyme.
Yeah. I feel, you know, this kind of a tale about the curse, it required a little bit more like fairy tale approach. And I also liked when we did Price of Power.
Yeah.
First, I think teaser and trailer, it also had this rhymed script into this. So we're not using it every time, but whenever it makes sense, it makes sense.
Exactly. Here it fit perfectly. So that was our first expansion of the week. This happened on a Tuesday, and then on Wednesday we had an IGN article talking about Project Golden Necker and its true name, which is Gwent Rogue Mage, and that launched on Thursday. And yeah, it's been a wild ride throughout that. And I also wanted to showcase here that GOG is still doing a giveaway for it. So there are 10 codes for Rogue Mage if you want to check the game out, if you still haven't. Then you can submit your entries into a contest. The details are on your screen, and submissions are till July 16th. 3 p.m. UTC, so there's still a little bit of time for you to take part in this. So yeah, for sure, check it out. So to enter is very easy. You just need to comment on the forum or under our Twitter or Facebook contest post and tell everybody at GOG will be the first thing you do if the conjunction of spheres was happening in real life and monsters were swarming our land. So yeah, think about it. Like, if you can't call upon a witcher, maybe you need to become a witcher, or I don't know, find a mage who is rogue and crazy enough to actually create living weapons. So like Mr. Alzer did. That'd be interesting. I wonder if we have mages actually in real life, but we probably don't because we never heard about them. But they are in our imagination for sure. So yeah, Rogue Mage happened. We will be later going into and answering some of the community concerns, but also questions when it comes to Rogue Mage, kind of talking more about the project. But yeah, also awesome trailer here. Really happy about the release. And yeah, I'm really happy that we got this out the door because it was just an amazing project to be part of. I like the story aspect of it. Maybe story is not here the main big focus, more the
It's
gameplay.
not Thronebreaker, yes.
Exactly, the gameplay and the replayability of the whole thing, which is the funnest part. And but I just love having Alzer there, Lily, and kind of how they were going through all the processes in order to create the first Witcher. I feel like, it is something that we always think a little bit about, and it's nice to actually have it in a form where we can see the characters. And I think Alzer just looks badass, and I've loved him since we added him as a journey character. Exactly.
And also, the funny thing about this release is that I saw many people in the community, they were saying that we pulled another Merchants of Ophir on them, because that was another surprise launch. And frankly, from the moment we released Merchants of Ophir, I kind of wanted to do this one day. Maybe not
release. Yes.
Yeah, but this time I'm actually kind of happy that we managed to, not to leak it too early, because we are also famous for not being, super good with keeping our secret stuff secret for long. So I'm happy that for majority of people in the community, it still was a surprise.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, like the releases were very close to each other, because the majority of the content actually was already in the game itself. So we're happy that it didn't leak and go out. So speaking of Rogue Mage, I have it on this other screen. Today we got awesome news in the morning, stating that we got an 80% rating on IGN, which is great. Which pretty much made my and Vlad's morning, and everybody who I saw in the morning in the studio in the Gwent area. So yeah, it's really good to see. And I'm really happy, because a lot of people worked hard on this project, and it's good to see it, come out and let people play it. I'm also very happy about the reception of the Gwent community. Of course, some people from this community already had a little bit of a sneak peek early access to it. And I was really happy with their initial response to the game, saying that, it's a lot of fun. And I feel like there was a place that people really wanted some more PvE in the Gwent genre. So really happy about how that pretty much went for us.
Yeah, really good review. Can definitely recommend checking it out if you haven't seen it yet. It's available in both text format, but also in the video format. And I especially like video format because you can actually see also many examples of what's being covered in the article. And I think it's just, maybe I'm biased here, but it's simply cool to see Rogue Mage in action. I think there was plenty of really nice and good-looking things going on screen there.
Exactly, fully agreed. And like you said, the article here kind of highlights the strong parts as well as the weaknesses, which is very good. It's not that we are using this as an example because we got only 100% praise from it. So easy clap for that one. All right, moving on. We'll be going back to Rogue Mage later when we're talking to Vlad about the releases. We also are celebrating 20 years of CDPR. We had 2 streams already. One with me and Marcin Iwiński in the past week that we did for Witcher 1. And then Mikołaj Szwed from Localization, our localization director, together with Alicia, our community manager, sat down to play a little bit of Witcher 2 and Flotsam and take on the Karen. So it's a really cool stream to watch. Of course, we had Sebastian playing off screen, and we were just talking about the game and kind of our experience. It's a really nice celebration where we just sit down and reminisce about the good old days of Witcher 1, Witcher 2, how the company was developing through that time, and what we were doing at that time as maybe fans of the company before that, in my case, or as for Marcin and Mikołaj actually being there, hands on deck and working on the game. So that's really cool. And we also had a really cool 20 years of CDPR challenge. So there are a lot of challenges happening. If you go to 20 years of cdproject.com, which you see on your screen, you will see the contests that are happening. And one of them was a Twitter contest where you had to guess Shoop's kind of like he can be mage, knight, and all that, but you can what would you see him like doing some adventure, like his next adventure. So TGG Gwent won this one of showcasing Shoop as a radio host. So the sound of the keg is his radio, and so he's pretty much playing all the crazy music, and and a group called the Rolling Shoops. Really enjoyed that. Give me a really cool visual in my head. So congrats to TGG for winning that one. Cool stuff. Moving on to community news. We also have three things to highlight from Reddit. One is, of course, shout out to Michael Loda, who's probably watching because he watches and comments on everything that we post. Yes. He's posting a custom Pafko Gale card every week until Pafko Gale gets buffed. We're at card number 4. This time it's Pafko Black Sun. So he's infusing allied units with order range, damage a unit by 1, cooldown 1. And he's 13 provision and 7 power, finally 7 power, so he doesn't get removed. I hope someone from the design team is watching this. Thankfully, we also have Vlad here to see this, so it has become a thing.
Point, I have a question to chat. Are we sure that it's not a secret identity of Pavel himself? I mean, Michael, maybe?
No, because if you look at Michael Loda and what he's posting all the time, and we're reacting and talking with one another, and I could not. It's impossible to be two places at the same time, right? Maybe I have someone as an insider, but no. He's loyal fan, comes to all my streams and also all the stuff that we do as CDPR. So kudos to him. I might have once send him out kind of a little small like Gwent, gift pack from us. But apart from that, my hands are clean. And this was before the whole Pafko movement. So I have, you cannot connect me in any way to that. So we're all good. So that is happening. Of course, Hearts and Wine, as always, is killing it with awesome videos when it comes to decks that you can check out and play. So there's this like big strategy video that I highly encourage for people to check out. So you have a couple of different decks and for different factions that you can get into, and he does it super well where he dissects everything and kind of tells you how to play it. Easy to understand and easy to take into and then use later. So highly encourage you to check that out. And I also saw someone called the Your Nay the Duck on also on the Gwent Reddit. And this person did a study of Dandelion in Procreate, so recreated the art, which took 3.5 hours to do that. So I really like when community tries to take apart and dissect the art that the artists do in the game, because I feel like art has always been and always will be our strongest suit. So, So kudos to that one. Really amazing stuff. And we'll, as always, end with a meme. Why am I not getting GG starter packs? So the culprits, as you know them and see them. So Renfreeze, Irden, of course, Heatwave, Locking, and Skellige, Patricidal Fury, and all that. And of course, Yennefer is also there. Yes.
It was every release, but over time. So kudos for continuing with the meme.
I think our community is very good with consistency. I mean, what you saw with Renfrey, what you're seeing now with Pafko and other stuff, that whenever there is a movement, it continues and continues on a weekly, monthly, or whatever basis. So
that's the spirit.
Happy to see some cool stuff. And I like also when we were doing Flurza with Flake, there's sometimes people ask questions and they ask them kind of as a joke, but they're kind of testing if we're going to answer, and it's always good to reply to those on Reddit and then kind of like, I was just checking if you actually read them or reply, and it was like a small wink. So yeah.
Where else such determination is much needed?
Where?
In Rogue Mage, of course. Like, this is like the perfect game
exactly.
for stubborn people that are not easily discouraged or swayed by
Yeah.
failure, that would be, keeping up. So this is the game for you.
Exactly. I love roguelikes myself, but yeah, it takes a certain in a sense, like you need to be persevering, and you cannot feel like, every run gives you something and you learn from every run, and then you use that in your next run, and you also become stronger with with every run. So yeah. Let's, since we started about talking about Rogue
Yeah.
Mage, let's get into it. There are a couple questions that we have compiled here. One is about why there's only one round in Rogue Mage. Can you tell
Right.
us kind of what the idea was when we were working on
Sure.
the game?
Sure. So yeah, I saw that this is a popular complaint, concern shared by a community, and I understand obviously where is it coming from. Gwent is kind of famous for being kind of have a built-in best of three, and it's one of the most recognizable features of Gwent, both in
Yes.
The Witcher 3 and multiplayer. So I understand maybe the confusion or even the outrage, like how dare you the change the essence of Gwent and narrowing it down to one round only. But I think it's important to explain our line of thinking here and what we tried to achieve by experimenting with roguelike format, and in general, like with the Rogue Mage project, where our ambition was. And to put it simply, we wanted different experience, right? Like we have multiplayer Gwent, playing it every day. I mean, community players are, know all the small details, all the written and unwritten rules of Gwent and how multiplayer works in general, and all the rules are pretty much remaining unchanged over time. Like there are core principles about what Gwent is. But also, while it's very important for us to maintain these rules in order to keep the multiplayer Gwent identity, it's also kind of an area we are interested into exploring and twisting when it comes to releasing projects like Rogue Mage. It's kind of, you could call it a spin-off, right? Or it's a twist on the rules of multiplayer Gwent, and by cutting the number of rounds to one, we're not only saving time, because, well, if you would be forced to play multiple rounds against AI and having like this more complicated back and forth with them, then it will definitely make your playthrough longer without necessarily making it richer. Like if the battles are condensed into one round, you will simply have more encounters, faster runs in case if you're winning, of course. So that was one of the reasons for us to do that, but not the only one. Also, micro decisions which you're expected to make in a single round, in a battle consisting of a single round, are now more important, right? So sequencing is always important in Gwent. Everybody who plays it, especially on a competitive level, knows it. However, the game can be also forgiving to your mistakes, maybe, and you can lose a battle to win the war. Kind of this is the one of the core philosophies in Gwent. But once again, multiplayer Gwent, the fantasy is that you're a general or a warlord. You're leading armies into battle, and maybe it's even a series of battles, right? So like you can lose a round and you can win the next one and the next after that. So like multiple stages of battle going on. With Rogue Mage, we were aiming for a change of pace, right? You're not a general, you're not a warlord, you're Hauser.
Yeah.
You're commanding this, a squad of humans and creatures that magically following you around, and I know it's a wild mix from different timelines and whatnot. We'll talk about this also later. But what's important for us was also this sense that, okay, the enemies that you're facing, they won't be holding anything back. They will just throw everything they have at you, and you're expected to do the same. And of course, we changed multiple other things, like the fact that you're drawing cards during the round, right? It's changes the dynamic completely, and it's maybe a little bit more unpredictable. I understand that people that like GWENT for consistency, they might feel that, okay, like there are too many RNG factors in there and it's less enjoyable, but we definitely wanted to hit kind of, a different type of experience, which would be familiar to GWENT players, but wouldn't feel like, a GWENT reskin in the roguelike format, right? So this is, I think, where one of the most serious job of the designers and their focus went into making this part of Rogue Mage interesting, balanced, and challenging. I would say that this trade-off that we only have one round didn't, well, in my opinion, sure, like, I mean, there might be people that will disagree with me, didn't rob GWENT, Rogue Mage from in a sense of being less deep or less tactical. There's still very important decisions to make. Very important point is that in GWENT multiplayer, you don't have energy to manage.
Yeah.
You do have your, right? Yeah, you do have your only resource. Well, okay, maybe two resources that you manage. You manage the number of cards you have in a round.
Yes.
When to pass, when to not to pass, this is very important, so you can conserve your resources for later. The second thing, you can also manage kind of a provisions, right? Like, should I just play all my bronzes in the first round to save goals for later? Should I push? Should I stay? Okay, this is what makes it interesting, especially on a high level of play. This is all clear. What about Rogue Mage? In Rogue Mage, we wanted to keep that, but make this decision-making, shift it to the next level. Yeah. Because the game now is a series of battles over the span of the whole run. It's very important for players to make smart decisions about how do you want to use your energy resource, which you're using for casting spells, which is another new concept in Rogue Mage, right? You don't have spells in GWENT, only leader abilities. So in this regard, you still expected to do some very difficult sometimes, but essential tactical decisions regarding how do you want to manage your resources, energy first and foremost. So for those who are saying, complaining that we robbed the original GWENT from its tactical depth, I highly encourage you, to give it maybe a closer look and try to understand how energy falls into this place instead of multiple rounds, actually.
Yeah, I think this was the whole idea behind the game, and to make it stand out and make it a different beast than what it is in multiplayer GWENT. I know that a lot of us have been kind of used to how you play the classic multiplayer GWENT, and this in a way is an expansion spin-off. So we wanted it to have gameplay elements that are going to be different, and the energy introduction, energy management is kind of something that you need to take into account, and that's why it's played in one round. But yeah, I feel like from the standpoint of the design and how we're going through the iterations of the game, this actually made a lot of sense. And also we want you, what Vlad said, as a player to commit instantly and play all your good cards, same as your opponent is doing. So yeah.
Sure, and also, slapping your cards in random order will only be feasible strategy in your first tutorial battle that you're getting immediately after you launching the game. Pretty much every other encounter that you have will require you to think carefully, observe what your opponent ability is, what cards are on the table at any given moment. So it's very far from the game is simplified so much that I just will drop all my cards without even thinking and I'm going to win. No, you're not, right? It's not happening.
You need to adjust your strategy to what your opponent is doing, and your opponent will always be doing something different. And it's not just a matter of learning the sequence, because the sequence will be changing all the time, and you need to, as a player, you need to adapt, and that's where the fun of the whole thing comes. And once you make a couple of mistakes, you might go back to that battle and play it once again, and then you will play it out in a different way, and you might get you get the win. So that's the whole point. Staying on the topic of similarities and differences, why do enemies always have the last say? I know last say is always the most important thing for a lot of Gwent players, especially in multiplayer. That's why you always think about when you want to pass. You also think about the amount of cards that you have moving on to the next round in order for you to have last say, because sometimes it can be game winning for you. Why does the opponent here have the last say?
Right. So this is another, as you mentioned, another thing which I understand how it can be controversial for Gwent veterans, because you said it already. This is very important concept of fighting for last sale and trying to get in control and being able to finish the battle on your terms, so to say. Mm-hmm. There are a few things to take into account when we're discussing how it looks in Rogue Mage. So first of all, because it's a roguelike game, you're expected to study your AI opponents over time, right? Like, sure, there's an element of unpredictability. What this last card my opponent will play gonna do. It requires a little bit of a learning curve to try to correctly estimate how safe you are when you have like a surplus of points. You're a little bit ahead. Would it be enough? Would it not be enough? Like, I think there's a lot of pretty healthy tension comes from this moment where you need to think about, like, should I use energy and be on the safe side, or like my cards would be enough and I would rather conserve this for the final boss. So I get it when you're doing your first run, you're feeling that frustrated because the enemy managed to surprise you. You didn't even maybe knew that such card existing in the game, and it was played and it crushed your strategy, destroyed your units, whatever. But after facing the same enemy multiple times, it becomes a non-issue essentially. And actually, I think there is some satisfaction in feeling smarter than AI when you're kind of already trying to predict the moves based on the previous run's knowledge. And I think also, like, this is very roguelike feature to me, that you do not always know what your enemy is supposed to do. Sure, in Slay the Spire you have this handy hints of what your opponent exactly are planning to do, but it's a design choice. I get it, but it's not it's not I would say like a golden standard when it comes to the roguelikes. Like in many other games, the actions of the opponents are completely unpredictable. So you'll learn as you go, and that's exactly the route we decided to take. It also may be worth to mention that, well, we believe that we have pretty good AI, and I think many players that left feedback about Rogue Mage pointed out that from the days of Thronebreaker, we made a good progress with making AI maybe not the most smartest one in the universe, but far from being weak or not playing cards in a proper sequence or doing absolutely silly stuff. Still doing some mistakes occasionally, but so is the players, right? Go up the Gwent ladder, especially in the lower ranks, and you will see all kinds of wackiness there. So in this case, it just imitates the real life, right? But my point was that by giving the last say to AI, this is also kind of a little bit of help that we're throwing to AI to make the game more balanced. So it's like it's not always advantage is not always on the side of the player. You actually need to sweat a little bit in order to wrestle this advantage for itself.
It can be too easy.
Otherwise, I would argue that many opponents could be very easily disrupted by your last play if you always know you're always in control. But here, maybe the most important point of it all, I do believe that people that are complaining about this, they most probably didn't go as far as to the late stages of the game, of the playthrough, in which some unlocks become available to you, which actually allows you to get control of the last save.
Yeah.
So please don't think that we forgot about it. Please don't think that we would just like players to suffer. No, we just see this as one of the upgrades which you need to work for. But there are things like Candle Treasure, Masterful Time Warp Spell, Dark Water Pouch is the name of one of the potions. Like these items actually give you this very powerful bonus, and essentially you can take control of the last say. And believe me, it feels very good when you actually get to this point and you feel, okay, finally, I worked hard enough. I suffered, but I got to the point where, I made it. I can now finally turn the table. AI, I'm going to hand your ass to you. That's a very sweet moment. But of course, you need to get there, right? Like there is no prize without like working for it in this case.
Awesome. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Thank you for highlighting that. I think the major problem from both of these questions that we kind of see as kind of how we're used to the old way to play multiplayer Gwent, and kind of this being a different beast, and this is a design choice. It's not that something that we did, like you said, to make players suffer or to make their lives harder, but it's designed in a way where you have replayability. Of course, the instances of things that happen might be different with each replay that you do, but on the other hand, you also have some similarity in which you can learn to be better and master that opponent and just pass through them and go to the next one, to the next one, to the next one.
Yep.
And then your run ends, and then you go back, and then you can those become more familiar. So I feel like it standardizes a little bit what you can expect, but still, like you said, the battles, they will be always they will take a lot from the player for them to actually master that. Yeah, and that's the point of roguelikes in a nutshell, pretty much. Okay.
Yeah, maybe just let me add one more general thing here, that I really wish that Gwent veterans, those who are interested in general in single player and PvE and roguelikes, that they would judge this project, single player expansion Rogue Mage, with an open mind, because like I can totally see like frustration and disappointment for those who will expect either pure Gwent experience or pure kind of a genre like classic roguelike experience, because it's neither of those, right?
It's a mix.
We wanted to make a blend, to make a mix of the best from both worlds, and I don't think it should be judged as like the faithful representation of Gwent, or like the most hardcore roguelike experience possible. It's actually somewhere in between.
Exactly.
And I think based on the reviews which I saw, I think people and journalists that are having the most fun in Rogue Mage is those who are coming without any particular expectations that certain features will be there, or like certain like game design principles will be there, and things like that. Like when you're allowing the game to surprise you, and basically you're accepting it for what it is, I think it's just the way of getting more fun and entertainment for yourself. So I can only recommend trying it.
Yeah, if you're tainted by multiplayer, pretty much, then try to approach it with an open mind.
In this case, right? Like we definitely, I don't want as much as I want this game to be popular and everybody playing it. Like if someone kind of knows that every kind of a change from the multiplayer formula is painful and it feels like sacrilege, right? Like maybe stay away, like, right? And also from Thronebreaker, like don't try it.
Yeah, it's a different beast, and I agree. For me, I always, also when it came to Thronebreaker versus like multiplayer, like I've always been a person that is more drawn into multiplayer CCGs due to the competitive nature of the thing. When it comes to roguelikes, I've never played a lot of roguelikes that are based on card game battles, more isometric type of, I don't know, Dead Cells and stuff like that. But what I always do coming into these games is I try to approach them with an open mind and try to forget that this is not a competitive CCG. It's more as me taking on a different boss, let's say, and going and traversing through a world and trying to learn about story and enjoying the visuals and all that stuff. So that's what I also did with Thronebreaker. Like I think remember changing the difficulty to like one of the lowest, because I really didn't want to think about everything that was related to the gameplay aspect and doing the puzzles and stuff like that. I was really there for the narrative, for the story, and to kind of like get all of that in. And then I think I just went back and just played it on normal, just to have a little bit of a little bit of a challenge, so it's not just too easy, right? So that's and I feel like that's a good tip for everybody, just to kind of approach it differently than you approach multiplayer Gwent. Okay, since we started about Thronebreaker, let's focus a little bit on the story, because there are people saying that they expected more from the story.
Yeah.
I know there are people who love the story, even that it's just concise. What was the idea of having the story in the form that it is in the game right now?
Yeah, so I feel that this part is like 100% about expectations and how to manage them. Like, we both know it's not always easy with multiplayer Gwent 2. In this case, like for everyone who expected more, I'm sorry that like maybe we didn't deliver what you wanted. But truth to be told, our intention from the start was not another Thronebreaker. If that would be the case, we wouldn't fool around with Golden Necker. We wouldn't have such elaborate explanation what this game is and what it isn't. We would simply tell you that Thronebreaker 2 is in development, and like we want to focus on the story. We want to tell like more stories in the Witcher world and expand the lore, etc. No, with this project, our intention from the start was to focus on the gameplay part, to make it kind of fun, addictive addition to multiplayer experience, something that you can maybe enjoy alongside multiplayer Gwent, maybe instead of the multiplayer Gwent, if multiplayer is not your cup of tea. So I think any comparison to Thronebreaker is simply not fair, because we're absolutely aware that it's not in the same league, and it's a totally different beast when it comes to like our narrative aspirations. The story which are existing in Rogue Mage, I wouldn't exactly downplay it saying that it's bad or it's bare bones, but it's definitely not as extensive enough, or like not as deep enough as in Thronebreaker, for example. I'm not even talking about the Witcher games, which are larger than life when it comes to the plot and to the characters. Here we knew that we have a limited set of characters to play with. We have like a limited way to like explain the settings to people, and we went with gameplay first formula. Actually, the same as with multiplayer Gwent, which is also not the game that was developed or that was conceived as let's tell a story about the Witcher world, about like the war and Squirtels fighting with Skellige. I think it's impossible to explain like what's going on in Gwent multiplayer from the lore perspective. Here, same as here, we wanted the game not being completely abstract. So it's not just a roguelike when you're playing for unknown character, fighting unknown enemies in the unknown world. We wanted to be grounded in the Witcher world, but not really be much beyond that. It's really just enough story elements, hopefully, to keep you engaged and keep you interested in like what will happen next with Alder and Lily, how these experiments will turn out, what actually were the milestones on their journey to create the first Witcher, because, well, spoiler alert, we all know that Witcher was created as the result of all this. So, I just hope that, we are open and transparent enough regarding this topic, and there is no misunderstanding and no false expectations that, where is the story, CDPR?
Yeah.
Just not this time, okay? Maybe we will have more story-driven Gwent-related projects in the future, I don't know, but this one is not about it. It's purely about gameplay.
Yeah, I also feel like the amount of story here is like kept to a minimum, but I feel like the story aspect of what it is in the game. Maybe I'm biased because I was working with our video team on actually the intros and the videos that you see and the outro if you got to the end of the story. So for me, it was a really important aspect of the game, but I knew it was something that was there as an additional thing to kind of put everything into perspective. To kind of, show the world, show the characters. And I feel like Alzur is a really cool character. And for players that do not know him from multiplayer Gwent, they want to know who this guy is, what's it all about, why is he a rogue mage? And I feel like the story is concise enough to tell you all these things and kind of unfolds a little bit with as you progress in your run. But like Vlad said, it is something that is kind of there as an additional thing. And if we wanted the story here to be kind of, the selling point and the main stone, then we would totally like position the game in a different way. Like we would change it to Thronebreaker 2. And what we really wanted when it comes to like positioning, communication, how to market the thing, is to bring it as close as possible to Gwent instead of having it compared to Thronebreaker. We're trying to avoid that at all costs. And I feel like this is something that we achieved. And also a huge shout out to Ryan from IGN, who also was working with us on the IGN piece for from before the release. So players knew what to expect from the game coming in. So this was very, very important for us.
And one more addition about the, not exactly story, but lore and immersion. I already touched on this briefly before. Like, I just want to acknowledge the fact that, people who were pointing out, like, it doesn't make sense that there's Dandelion and there's, like, he was not even born, like, he's not the, living in the same timeline with Alzur. Of course, we are aware of that, and it's also kind of the side effect of the gameplay first focus, because we know that, well, we want these cards from Gwent multiplayer, we want their effects. Also, there is nothing to be, to be ashamed about. We wanted recognizable characters.
Exactly.
So it's not just like, some, once again, no-name trolls only and no-name soldiers, but it's also some familiar faces, and there's not that many familiar faces are known from this particular period, either from the book or movies or games. So it's like pretty much terra incognita.
Yeah.
So maybe one day we will, thoroughly explore this, like in some other medium, in some other games or releases, like the whole Alzur story, introduce new characters, like actually add to the lore. This time, I know it's hurting immersion a little bit, but I think it's also important that it's still kind of, the Witcher card game, and you actually know these characters from somewhere. You know them from Gwent, or you know them from the Witcher games, and this recognition moment happens. So it's not just some generic people you're seeing for the first time.
Yeah, just familiarity. I think a lot of people and players are drawn to characters which they know and love. So it's much easier to inject them into the game. So you're like, oh, I see what they did there. Like, I recognize this character, especially if you're a player that, let's say, picks up a Rogue Mage and you haven't played multiplayer Gwent, or if you're also a multiplayer Gwent, there is this familiarity. So either way, you will know these characters because they kind of have become larger than life if you follow everything Witcher related.
We didn't include any Witchers, though. That was the condition.
That was a condition.
That, we have to draw a line somewhere. So known characters is fine. Okay, we can live with it. But, Witchers are not even created. This is the whole point of Rogue Mage. No Witchers, please.
Exactly. Okay, moving on. A lack of premium animations in Rogue Mage. So kind of what's the idea of not having the so-called premiums that you see in multiplayer Gwent?
Right. So this one is rather straightforward. Like I don't remember the exact number. I think we created like over hundreds new artworks, including the ones which are on cards for the events, and like in general, I think it's way over 100 of new illustrations and arts for Rogue Mage. And from the very beginning, we know that even if we're talking about cards only, we don't want to go for premium options for all of them. It would simply be expensive and it will take significantly longer time to deliver, especially since it's pretty much the same team that is working on the cards for multiplayer, right? It's not outsourced in any way. So in this sense, we knew that we need to find like a healthy balance and not overextend. So simple as that. I know that some people are confused that why we didn't allow like the cards which already have existing animations from multiplayer to be mixed together with static, completely new ones. But it was, let's say, our direction choice that we want to go for consistent art direction approach in which like there is no weird situation in which half of your cards are animated and blinking and having all this movement on the board. Another one is static, and especially for player that is not coming from GWENT multiplayer, it doesn't make sense, right? Like why some cards are moving, why some others are not. So I think all in all, I understand for GWENT veterans it may be another pain point simply because, well, let's face it, GWENT animations are awesome. But well, so is the static artworks. I think it's maybe a sacrifice on our part, but I believe a reasonable one for keeping things consistent.
Yeah, exactly.
And the last but not least, also not having cards with animations make the overall optimization process when it comes to development for devices, not necessarily mobile devices, PC as well, much easier in general. So it's just less demanding in terms of the performance.
Yeah.
Pavel, are you with me?
Yeah, I'm with you. Can you hear me? Because you kind of froze for me. But I am here. Okay, we're back from a small technical break. Everything should be working as it should right now. So yeah, we ended talking about the premium animations of cards, that this was a design choice. So all of that probably came through. The next thing that we have on our list is what can we do to speed things up in the game itself, because some players felt that gameplay-wise, it could be a little bit faster.
Sure. Yeah, this is very straightforward and very technical kind of thing. There are at least two things which can be done in order to speed up your experience with Rogue Mage. So one is also a thing which is existing in multiplayer GWENT, but I'm sure not all players are aware or not using it. You have a setting which controls the speed of your opponent's cards being played tooltips. So you can either make it faster from the default setting, or even disable it. Like if you are playing for 30 hours Rogue Mage, you already know by heart every ability, every card. Maybe you don't need to know what's being placed on the board. So in this sense, it actually allows you to save quite a lot of time. So that's one thing which can be adjusted in the settings menu under gameplay section. And in the same section, there's another very useful option which we added during the development when we tested the game daily, and designers that were playing. At some point, they requested actually this feature to be added because, as you can imagine, they had, assembled a very broken combos and they were just steamrolling the AI quite often. And it was tedious when you're super far ahead to always, play every card, even if you already know 100% we can't lose situation, right? So you're so far ahead. So we added allow early pass option, which you can also toggle in the gameplay section. So what it will allow you to do is that instead of just passing your turn until you can play next, you can have like this coin, right? The pass button pressed for longer, right? Kind of like you do it in Gwent actually, and simply stop playing your cards and pass for the whole round. So what of course you have to be careful with that, because if you miscalculate it, right, and your AI opponent have some still strong spells and cards sleeve, then pressing this early pass, it will stop you from playing the cards in your hand, but it won't stop the AI of playing everything they have. They will very quickly, right? You can test it out if you're curious how it works. It will play their cards pretty quickly, so it definitely saves a lot of time, but it's not probably a thing that you'll be able to afford in every battle, right? So use this carefully at your own discretion. Don't overuse this one, or you are going to be destroyed.
Exactly. Yeah, you use it responsibly in this case.
Yep.
Okay, difficulty level time. Some players are saying it's too easy. Some are saying it's too difficult. What's up with that? I mean, it's a roguelike. It has to be difficult.
Yeah. So I think difficulty and roguelikes are very like valid topic, not only for Rogue Mage, but for other games as well. We knew from the start that we want to be, let's say, as inclusive as possible here, and like the funny thing about the feedback about difficulty, that there are actually both sides of the spectrum represented in this feedback. Like for some, the game is just like absolutely punishing experience. Like I've been crushed, I cannot do anything. The AI is just unfair, too strong, blah blah blah. And there is another side of the spectrum, like maybe Gwent veterans who are not finding enough challenge. So for the first group, I think the easiest and the most straightforward answer is to use so-called Archmage mode.
Yeah.
We specifically added this feature also during the testing of the game for players that want maybe a little bit lighter experience and don't want the resource management part, energy specifically, to be too punishing or too stressful, because it can be pretty intense. So we talked in the beginning of this video, right, that for like more hardcore experience, for people that are looking for challenge, managing energy is actually a very important concept.
Yeah.
So we understand there are people that maybe came for the story, or maybe they came for like maybe a little bit lighter experience of just like steamrolling the silly AI. And if it's not happening, I think there is no shame in taking up this Archmage mode. What it does, it just gives extra energy and allows you to replenish it after the fights. It significantly makes things easier, because you can just play more spells and have more points in general. Also, taking this option would prevent you from like being able to save your results to the leaderboards, because like we didn't want to mix the two crowds, right, without this setting and with. But if you don't care about this competitive side of the game, right, I think it's a very reasonable thing to do, and this will make your experience much more pleasant.
Exactly.
It would allow you to go faster through all the cutscenes, if that's what kind of keeps you going.
Yeah.
Exactly. And for those who are interested in more challenge than you have by default in the beginning, the thing is, it's something which maybe not obvious or like advertised to players from the beginning. So I understand the confusion, that we have a whole new system which initially from your first run is being locked, but it's being unlocked and it's being introduced once you're done with your first run. Then when you defeated 3 more bosses, collected 3 more mutagens, and conducted another experiment, from that point onwards, you will have, before starting of each run, the system which would require you, actually, it's called curses, it would require you to select different modifiers, which are making your runs more difficult. There are tons of them, really, and those are actually mandatory if you want to progress the story. If you don't care about the story, then you don't have to do it. But if you want to unlock more cutscenes, you actually required to slowly, drop by drop,
exactly,
like adding this additional restrictions. Like some of them are pretty hilarious. Like my favorite one is probably the one which covers the whole map in fog, so you can't really plot your curse, right?
Yeah.
You have to move completely blindly in the dark, so it feels pretty immersive to me, right? Like it's
fog of war.
yeah, it's like a proper RTS old school experience with Fog of War, and you can strategically kind of plan your route. And there are many other cool restrictions like that, which I think one of the main sources of replayability in this title and this release, because there are really many combinations which completely twisting the basic expectations, basic rules, and make every next run with these modifiers different from the previous one. Even if you're staying with the same deck, even if you are meeting the same more or less AI opponents, still your playthrough would be different from time to time based on these modifiers. And I think for everyone who is complaining about the lack of difficulty, I would really ask you to get to this point. Well, if the game is easy, it will be easier, right? to get through that point.
Yeah.
And then come back to us again with with feedback, like how does it feel after that point when you are asked to add more and more difficulty modifiers progressively.
Yeah, I feel like it needs to be a challenge. It cannot be too easy, because if it was too easy, and if you're able to go through everything on one run, you would just play it once and you'll be like, okay, I did everything I was supposed to, and I'm done. Okay, last question for today. Question about more content, and I've seen this kind of come up throughout the week after the release. Players saying that maybe more maps, more enemies, more cards, more more stuff. I know the game is barely out for a week, but more and more and more. Like, what's your answer to the game needing more content?
Right. So first, let me start with the statement that it's definitely not kind of live game or game as a service like GWENT multiplayer.
Exactly.
Here, we actually adding new account every month, and we're constantly like keeping it in the state of a flux. So there is this evolving meta and all this. So for those who are looking for this like truly kind of evolving game experience, I would recommend GWENT multiplayer as a better choice. With that being said, I can totally get that if you really like the game, if you feel that you can't have enough, and after 20, 30, 40 hours maybe in the game, like there's nothing left for you to be explored. Maybe you already unlocked all the cutscenes, maybe you already met all the enemies, defeated all the bosses, unlocked everything from the 100 levels. Like, sure, I understand like this request for more content. Where is it coming from? I don't want to say that it's not going to happen, because we actually would like to keep this door open, and definitely like there is nothing technically impossible for adding some additional content to the game. But it's also important to say that the justification for doing that would be how successful the game will be in the mid and long term, what the sentiment around the game will be, right? Like we care about like how many players are playing it. We care about if it's being appreciated enough, and if players are sharing it with their friends, if they're rating it on their platforms, giving it good ratings. So like one advice I can give to players that would like to see this further supported, you can vote for this with your purchases, with your ratings, with sharing, helping spreading the word and sharing. And it would be it would be difficult to ignore or to walk away from the success, and it would be a no-brainer, right, to have some kind of a follow-up to otherwise critically acclaimed and also community acclaimed release. So, like, if that's what you're interested, I'm happy to hear that, and I think it's mostly in your hands, dear players, to make it possible.
Exactly. Exactly.
We didn't, release this game by, cutting out the some chunk of the content, like some game companies used to do in the past, like when you're already by the day of the release you have DLC, but you're just setting it aside because you need to sell something like a couple of months later. Full disclosure, we didn't do anything like that. We released everything we could.
Exactly.
We don't have any extra content, just stored in the storage. Yeah, just locked in the safe and ready to be deployed and kind of produced on the spot. So if we will go to the point of discussing like should we do it or not, hopefully like the overall state of the game and the discourse around the game and its popularity would be high enough to have this green lighted, right? Yeah. So also when it comes to the amount of content in Rogue Mage, we specifically wanted to also set the correct expectations about it with pricing, among other things, right? Like definitely we do realize that like we borrow a lot of things from multiplayer GWENT. Like for veterans, maybe there are many cards are familiar. They want more brand new content, previously unseen, more variety, things like that. Sure, we totally get it. Like understanding that it's not something that we currently can offer. We also pricing it accordingly, humbly, not trying to oversell it, right, or to pretend that this is a bigger thing that is. If you ask my opinion, like for this $10 that we're asking for, like the standard edition, I think the amount of hours of fun and entertainment that it gives,
worth it.
I would say on average, it's significantly more than you can expect from your average game even. And it's not, we do not position this as a game, but rather a single player expansion, right? Yeah. So I understand where these expectations are coming from. I don't know if the players would agree with me that it's priced fair. I saw different opinions on this. Some people saying that it has to be distributed for free. I would say that if we would decide to go this route, it would be a completely different project. It probably would be something really basic, kind of like a mini game within a mini game kind of thing, to be distributed within GWENT clients, just to be like a very small distraction and kind of like to kind of like a seasonal mode or something like that.
Like a small thing.
We wanted it to be bigger than that, and yet we don't want to overcharge people for that. So I hope that there is no miscommunication around it, and there is no like unmet expectations, and like our community actually understand what this is and what this isn't.
Exactly. Fully agreed. And yeah, what Vlad also mentioned, please remember that the games that we do are the games that we would like to play, and we do them mainly for our community, the most like devoted GWENT players. We know who you are, and we appreciate the constant like good vibes and you cheering the game on, actually shouting out to people, saying like you need to check it out, you need to play it. So it's pretty much if you will be supporting the game and supporting us and helping us to spread the word and rate it good on all the platforms that you're playing on, this is kind of helping us to grow here, and also would enable us in the future to do more awesome stuff for you. So whatever it is, so highly encourage you to do those things. Yeah, I guess we got it. It's another solid episode. Whenever you're here, they're quite long, but I'm happy that you addressed everything in terms of like the concerns that the players had when it comes to Rogue Mage. So yeah, also spread this video everywhere. It will be going up on YouTube, so everybody will be able to watch it. So highly encourage everybody to check it out.
Subscribe, and all that, right?
Comment, like, subscribe. Yeah. The bell button. Yeah, exactly. Yep. It's small stuff, but it's very important when it comes to content creation. So for sure, do those all things. Vlad, a pleasure.
something wasn't answered, so, maybe we missed on some, specific feedback or concern that you have, and I also didn't talk anything about the bugs and like technical things. Like for sure, this is on our radar. Like if you are experiencing some technical issues with the game, please let us know via the support ticket or by writing to us on forums on Reddit. Like we are fully committed to to make it a stable release. If something is not working, to fix it in no time, quoting Pavko. But yeah, if we didn't cover something important that is close to your heart, please ping any of us on Twitter, on Reddit, like whenever you're able to reach us, and we will address that as well.
Exactly. Let us know if anything is bugging you in terms of the things that we did not mention in this episode. Awesome. Vlad, thank you as always. Always a pleasure having you on. And yeah, we will be back with Twig most likely next week with a different guest this time. Yep. Awesome.
Thanks for having me. Have a nice evening, everyone, and nice weekend. Get rest, play some Rogue Mage, play some Gwent, play some other games also.
Exactly.
This is also very important. And take care of yourself.
Exactly. Take care, everyone. Bye.